Jeff Dubay Show on a Monday, number 60-something. What is it, 68? Hey, 68, the year of my birth. It's a very emotional show for me now, all of a sudden. Hey, look at the
thought you were going to get really excited about tomorrow's show for a second.
No, I'm not. Please, come on, grow up. But just get your mind out of the gutter for 2 seconds. Jeff Dubay, Jason McGovern on the Alive and Social Network. You can catch it at iTunes, iHeart, JeffDubay.com. It's everywhere. If you're hearing my voice right now, you've already found it. So disregard previous statements.
But tell somebody else about it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Share it. Tweet it, whatever. Whatever you do to help spread the word, we are appreciative. We got good things happening here. We're working on getting to Bennett's Chop House.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And then
right down on West 7th.
We're looking at that for a new Wild Wednesday sponsor and Wild Wednesday location. We should be there this week, so stop on by, folks. We're going to do an earlier show, maybe about 5:30, earlier than last week anyway, at O'Gara's. So look for that on Wednesday. Also, our NCHC Coaches Series starts on Wednesday with Bob Motzko, St. Cloud State. So it's going to be just a ton of hockey talk on Wednesday. But we might touch on the Wild a little bit between on there because they're a little bit of a story right now.
They're topic A right now,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little, I don't want to say miffed or panicked or anything when they were down after two to a fairly punchless Dallas team, minus their best player. But, I mean, once they started going, And as our friend Scott Schweitz pointed out on Twitter last night, and Russo in the Star Tribune, they own Enroth. I mean, they kill that. Hang on. They kill that poor guy. I mean, they just absolutely destroy him. They did it in Buffalo. As a matter of fact, was it the game that started the run for them? The first,
I think
the first game for Dubnyk.
Yep.
They went into Buffalo and won like 7-1 or something.
Yep.
And that was the beginning. That's when all the sarcastic tweets from Scott were coming about the savior. But we're getting a little more serious about it now. The Wild actually on the right side of the playoff bubble for the first time in months. I mean, they are, it's one of those if the season ended today, but it doesn't end today. But nonetheless, you'd rather be in than out when you take a look at those speculative numbers.
No, and it's interesting, too, to think about where we were a few weeks ago. And
it's insane.
On the way in, I'm listening to Russo and Suhan on Suhan's podcast, and they're talking about re-signing Dubnyk and how many years. And I mean, a couple weeks ago, we thought the season was just over, and now we've got a goalie, and we may have a goalie of the future. I mean, it's a great time to be a hockey fan.
And when you look at the circle of life, did you see that Brizgalov just got released?
No, but
he got waived. He cleared waivers. I guess now they can put him in the minors. But
I've nenever thought he was the savior this year. I know that's been brought up a few times on this show that you should have at least kept him, but it's been proven now that he just doesn't have it anymore. He's too old or something.
Well, but you know what? I would have thought that last year too. And then he came in here and went undefeated for 11 or 12 games, whatever it was, to get him to the playoffs. I mean, he Dubnyk'd it last year. I mean, he Brizgalov'd it. Dubnyk's Brizgalov'ing it this year.
There is something to. I mean, we've been talking about this too. The whole thing is mental with goalies too, and just the change of scenery apparently is a huge thing as a goalie. And I wonder too, especially with Dubnyk, I think he's coming in here going, these guys have been horrid all year. All I have to do is play semi-decently, and I'm going to be an improvement. So something about that pressure and just being able to come in and just be confident and almost cocky is what put him in the place he's in.
Well, and he also was with, Edmonton and Arizona. I mean, it gets so hard not to say Phoenix. That's a traditional. That's in one of the original six. It's so
don't mess that up.
Yeah, but he was playing for two bad teams. This got him an opportunity to. When the trade is made, you can't say I put him into a playoff hunt. Maybe put him at best into the fringe of a playoff hunt. And he's done a ton, obviously, to help get the team where they're at. But this is clearly the best team he's had in front of him all year. I mean, the Wild are a far superior team to either Arizona or Edmonton, to say the least. But,
and I know we will get to plenty of hockey, though, but have you seen where Dubnyk's in the standings and numbers-wise is, too? I mean, he's top 5 in the league right now in goals against and save percentage.
Is he really?
I mean,
and he qualifies enough games.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw that on the scroll yesterday. NBC had National Hockey Day or whatever, and I just saw that on the early game, and I just went, wow. I mean, I knew he was playing well, and I knew he was obviously a step ahead of our other two goalies, but I didn't realize he is right up there as one of the best in the league right now.
And speaking of NHL, not that we're going to dive deeply into this, but did you happen to catch any of the outdoor games Saturday? I totally forgot about it.
I forgot about it too.
Well, for one thing, I don't care about them anymore. I mean, it's. I know we've got ours coming up, so we have to care a little bit. But it's just a novelty. It wore off on me a long time ago. It's wearing off on others. Others still love it. But I was fairly intrigued because it was the California game, so I was going to tune in just to see how the whole thing, breaks down. There's no ice along the boards or outside the boards, and people aren't, wearing layers of clothes. I mean, it's Santa Clara. It's not, 80. I don't know. I don't know what the weather was.
It's probably 60, 55 or something. I mean,
that's what they need.
Nice. Yeah,
that's what they need. But I was just going to check it out. It's always when those games are on, I like to watch 5 minutes of it.
Yeah. Because the novelty is cool. It does look. It looks so different outdoors.
Yeah, it does.
But that's it.
Especially the lighting. Yeah.
They should have done it once every 5 years, and it would have been cool still. But doing it now, how many do you have a year? Is it at least 2? Because you have the New Year's Day one or whatever.
Yeah, you have in the Stadium Series. Is that it, or are there 2 Stadium Series a year? I don't know. But it's not the thrill it once was. But
No.
I always thought it was kind of silly to begin with. But I mean, whatever. Puts some extra people in the stands. It promotes your sport, whatever. Gets you
It's very good for the local town, I would imagine. I mean, especially in Minnesota next year, it's going to be crushed because it'll be festive and there'll be stuff around.
Well, the Gophers had one last year that was successful.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I'm sure that had a lot to do with the selection of the venue. They're going to be at TCF rather than Target Field for when the Wild get their opportunity as well.
Would you ever want to view a hockey game from the stands at a football stadium?
Only if it's decent weather. And I mean...
And what is decent weather? I mean, because we're talking, obviously, middle of winter. You mean like 25 degrees? Or
I wouldn't have mind watching the Gopher game last year from one of the suites. It's a little...
That would be great.
But that's, but then again, that's the top of the stadium. It's a little far away for hockey. But
really
I mean, in 97, when the Gophers were not in the Final Four in Indianapolis, my family went. We scalped tickets. I mean, we were out in some corner of the RCA Dome. And watching a basketball game that was basically just a rumor to us. I mean, we could. It's like you had to take a pair of binoculars and hold it in front of a pair of binoculars, and then you could see what was going on. But I mean, it's still just cool to be at an event and catch.
You're in the
vibe.
building, yeah.
So I mean, it was still a good time. But you can still take in a lot, no matter where you are. It just depends on how passionate you are about the event. And speaking,
I wonder though if that actually with the outdoor hockey games, I bet they look way cooler on TV than they would being there.
Yeah,
because there's something about that lighting and everything where it looks so much cooler on TV. I bet that's not as cool looking when you're there.
Yeah, but there's a lot about it.
And if you're cold.
Yeah, you're cold. You don't have as good an angle. But I mean, there were 70,000 people at that game in Santa Clara, California.
That's insane to me.
That's the cheese and wine crowd trying to be trendy. Napa Valley. It's all. It's the Clint Eastwood.
They're not even watching the game. You mean that kind of thing?
Well, probably. Yeah. They're like spreading brie on some sort of Melba toast and swashing it down with a glass of red. I mean, it's not.
You're true hockey fans.
Yeah, it's not a beer and a brat crowd. So
no, not a lot of Labatt or any Molson flowing.
Correct. Well, this is the award season. So what that means is it's the Monday Ask Jason McGovern what happened. I'm assuming since you watched the Grammys that you watched the Academy Award.
Yeah, and what's weird,
and people love this, and the people are passionate about it, and I don't get it because it is. I mean, there's the actor, actress, and then the supporting for each, and director and picture of the year. I mean, those are big ones that people really get into, but there's so many just technical awards. They're just like, come on.
Well, and it's the most ridiculous thing to award anyway, because it's not like a sports competition where the best team beats another team to win. In this, it's completely subjective. It's political. There's so much to it that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's entertaining because I love movies, and what's weird is I watched less of this than I did the Grammys. I actually watched the whole Grammys, and this I
thought you were more into music than you were into movies.
No, I'm a huge movie guy, and I watched at least half of the.
Me too. That's why I watched the AVNs. No, I'm just.
But no, I watched almost all, or at least 4 or 5 of the top picture nominees. I was a big fan of the movie that won. I saw Birdman. I saw Boyhood. I saw The Theory of Everything. I saw Grand Budapest Hotel. And I feel like I might have saw one. I mean, I haven't seen Whiplash because that's still in theaters. I haven't seen Selma. That's still in theaters. I'm trying to think what else is out there, but I mean, I'm
really out of touch with movies.
Well, I mean, most of these. Okay, what's her name wins for Best Actress?
Yeah, I hate her.
And the movie she's in, no one saw. No one saw that movie.
I mean, somebody I've heard of.
Can't I think of her name? Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore wins for, and her role was she was an Alzheimer's patient. So she was a woman at the early onset stages of Alzheimer's. That was her character.
See, now I've always had this theory, and I think we could include it, and not to be insensitive. But I think we can branch it out to include Alzheimer's patients. But I've always said, the most career-boosting move anybody can play, anybody can take on when it comes to, meaty Hollywood roles, I mean, this is what's going to get you taken seriously is as soon as you play a mentally challenged person. Now, an Alzheimer's person is a person who's kind of losing their mind. They got dementia. They're delusional and losing the memory and stuff. So, but that might be the next step. You can't not that Dustin Hoffman wasn't taken seriously before Rain Man, but
but that was huge for him.
Cuba Gooding Jr. Radio. I mean, if you play somebody who's got some sort of mental issue,
well, it's not even necessarily just mental. It's an illness because like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, it's the same type of thing.
Sure. I mean, those are the kind of roles where you just can't miss. I mean, that's like it's like Tracy Jordan on 30 Rock looking for
Tracy Morgan.
the character. Tracy Morgan is Tracy Jordan. He's looking for a meaty role to get the Oscar, and he did that stupid. But that's what it takes. I mean, you can look at a role or just like I haven't seen the movie that you're talking about. I know nothing about the movie or the role that Julianne Moore played, but the way you described it, I'm like, oh yeah, when that was put in front of her, she's thinking Oscar.
Yep.
She's thinking this is getting to be there.
And Eddie Redmayne.
Red carpet.
Eddie Redmayne wins Best Actor for The Theory of Everything, which is the Hawkins. Why can't I think of it?
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. It's his story, and he wins over Michael Keaton for Best Actor. And Michael Keaton was kind of the odds favorite. I think everybody kind of wanted Michael Keaton to win. And Redmayne wins because it's just what you said too. He plays a guy that has ALS, so he plays a guy, and it's the transformation part too. I think that's the tough part is where the gradual effect. I think is the harder part to act.
The commitment to his role to actually give himself ALS to feel. I mean, it's really, really.
You should see how skinny he is in this movie, though. He's skinnier than me, and he really does look like he does have ALS. Jesus. And he does. And so a buddy of mine were going back and forth about this last night, though, because you haven't seen either one of the movies, right? You haven't seen Michael Keaton and Birdman either.
The only movie released this year that I've seen it, I think, is American Sniper. I can't think of another. I also saw The Interview. Okay. That's it for me for the calendar year.
Yeah, Interview didn't get a whole lot of nominations.
No.
But
I'm not saying I'm a member of the Academy. I'm just telling you what I've seen.
But no, so you have Eddie Redmayne doing exactly what you just said, where he's playing somebody stricken with the disease and wins the Oscar. And Michael Keaton is, he's playing a maniacal character, but he's kind of playing himself. I mean, the whole point of this movie is he's Birdman, formerly Birdman. He's in this huge movie, Birdman. And he's a superstar, and then kind of fades away because that's what he was. He was Batman, and blah blah blah. So the story is actually about him. And my buddy was saying, well, it's so much easier to play a real life guy. That Eddie Redmayne had a character to base it on. A real person, but Michael Keaton was basing it on himself. So which one is more difficult? To me, it's way more difficult to try to play a guy who has ALS than it is to play yourself. Even though Michael Keaton's acting in that movie was amazing, and it deserved Best Picture, which it was. There's certain crafts that I have a difficult time wrapping my mind around, and acting is one of them. So hard.
I can't imagine. I mean, like when I'm watching. I mean, I'm not good at critiquing acting, but when I'm watching, a movie and I see somebody. Just able to instantly cry. I'm thinking, other than my, women that I've dated in my life, who has that talent? Who has that skill? You just push a button and there it is.
Well, they do get the help now. They have that stuff they can spray in their eyes, so they get the actual tears. Kinda. It's like a weaker form. It's something just so they get the actual tears, but the rest of it still. Show the emotion. Exactly. That is acting.
Well, when I've always thought to myself, if you are dating or married to or involved with a really, really good actor. How do you know you're not constantly being lied to or played? What is it? I know there's a difference between acting and improvising, but nonetheless, if they come up with a little story on the way home and work on their lines, behind the wheel, they could get home and just blow you away with their performance, and you would never know.
Same with any comedian. You would never want to date a comedian because that's all they do on stage is lie for an hour straight. I mean, that's what comedy is. I would never trust an actor or a comedian. You don't want to date.
The good thing about hanging around the stand-up comedian, is you can tear them to shreds with one-liners because none of them can think on their feet. It's all
because it's all written and all processed. You mean?
And when you listen to a stand-up comedian do a little promotional bit on a morning show because he's got a gig that night, they're the least funny human beings in the world.
It's usually at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're on the West Coast or something, so it's 4 o'clock. But you're right. No, because you're right. Their stuff is written, and if they don't even have a couple of jokes written for that interview, they're screwed. But you're right. The best ones do.
They just force it. Then they just listening to a morning show. You hear a guy you just bringing up weird stuff out of nowhere because it's like, well, this is what my joke is. This is where we got to go with the comedy. It's just like.
Have you ever watched that late night comic show where they just sit around on a little panel and tell stories, quote unquote, and it's all written But like the one guy will be like, "Oh, so I heard you went on a date last night," and then he's like, "Yeah, this girl," blah, blah, and it's just so
there's this one set of
bad.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And it's supposed to sound like it's improv. Oh my god! But that shows too. Improv is very difficult. It's not an easy talent.
I never enjoyed Whose Line Is It Anyway? I just thought it was just people acting stupid. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's just too.
I don't think that's great, but like, I mean, I'm a big fan of Adam Carolla, and like, even his podcast is not. You can tell it's not very prepped. You know, it is
Puffy.
A lot of improv. It's very, very similar to what we're doing right now.
In all honesty, I think that's a better way to do it. I mean, I think it's good to be that way by design. We are that way by design, not by laziness.
But but you have to be talented to do that. It is not easy to go in and just go, let's wing it and be entertaining.
Right.
Most people, I mean, 99.9% of people cannot jump in front of a microphone and do that.
That's true.
They have to have something.
Well,
and even some of the most talented people still have to have a little bit of prep beforehand.
How long did the thing go last night? What it started?
3.5, I think.
So it wasn't. So 2 Sunday night marathons in a row.
Yeah. No, it was really long. It really dragged. Everybody was bashing.
Sounds
Doogie
like you're talking about
Howser.
Bo Jackson's penis.
Jesus Christ. No, but
he had to kind of. Well, never mind. Continue.
Doogie Howser hosted it. Neil Patrick Harris. I thought he was fine. I mean, I guess I don't really give a shit about the host. I mean, they're funny or they're not. Unless they bomb, I don't really care. But on Twitter all night last night, it was just, oh, please stop. Oh, I'm not a fan anymore. Oh, you're not funny.
That happens every
blah, blah,
year.
blah.
People say that about like Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal's great
How do you
when he does
bash
it.
Billy Crystal?
I mean, he's doing like a million voices, and he's singing songs, he's telling jokes. I mean, Billy Crystal. I guess. People rip Letterman to shreds. It's like, well, what do you think you're getting? He's not a Broadway star.
I think it's cool to bash the host of the Oscars.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
A cool thing to do.
I'd like to say I compared it to the Super Bowl halftime, featured performer. I mean, you're there to get ripped.
You're right, because they can never reach the point that you're expecting. They cannot get up to the level of expectation.
I mean, there's so much hype built into it, but I can't imagine anything harder than hosting the Oscars. I mean,
in front of that crowd, too. In
I know.
that room,
Yes.
you had the
They're
least
picky.
receptive, the least fun group. You know, I mean, all these people take themselves way too seriously.
And they're all
obviously.
nominated for Academy Awards on that particular night, so they're really full of shit.
And they're nervous and all that. Yeah, you think they're going to laugh at anything or have any fun? Hell no.
like when the show opens, I can remember, like Billy Crystal, like doing a little song and dance and mentioning, this movie and that movie and taking a little personal, like a little, good-hearted jab at this person, that person, and they'll get a close-up right on that person's face, and they'll have the most forced smile. Like, fuck you, Billy. Read the goddamn card. I mean, it's like they just don't want to. That's why Bob Yates always said, if you're going to sit down to an award show, it's got to be the Golden Globes, because they're sitting around tables getting liquored up.
Yeah.
And they're just
and they're having fun.
And they don't care that much. You don't win.
Those awards don't matter.
It's a Golden Globe. Who gives a shit? I mean, you're there, you're tanked up, you're on the red carpet, you're having fun. Who cares?
And again, it's funny that the Oscars do matter. They do, though. I mean, everybody who wins an Oscar, your next movie, you're guaranteed a higher salary. You're guaranteed your choices of so and so and trailer and all that kind of stuff. But it's so subjective, and there's so many. I mean, again, this year Best Picture nominee, there could have been 2 or 3 that were worthy of winning it. So it's so. I hate that they do take it so seriously, because it's really bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all subjective,
Yeah.
and again, it's art. You can't really.
Yeah, who's to say what a best movie is?
No,
I mean, when you really
nobody.
think about how
Nobody
absurd
can.
that is, I mean, it is tough. It's weird though. It is you see guys who win Academy Awards, and you think, okay, now I can write my own ticket, be real selective and real picky. But some guys, they're actors and or actresses, they get theirs. And then they work everything. They'll have this great Academy Award winning role, and then they'll do just some ridiculous stupid like Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, or
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yes.
I don't know if he ever actually won one, but he fell off after he did a bunch of good movies.
Morgan Freeman doesn't say no. These guys who don't say no to any roles. And they're good at everything they do, but it's like, dude, do you really want to be in that movie where you're a cop stalking your next door neighbor because you want to fuck his wife or something? I mean, that was like one of Samuel L. Jackson's.
Well, and I wonder how much.
Morgan Freeman, you want to be in Olympus Has Fallen? You want to be in a Schwarzenegger like blow up the White House kind of a movie?
But I think is the thing with all of those actors is they get to a point where if I'm making $40,000 a year, I have a budget to where I have this car, I have this apartment, so they get to a point where they're making $4 million a year or $20 million a year, whatever it is. So they have a house that costs this much, and they have a car, and they have all this stuff, and they have the vacation home. So then they go.
not living check to check, though.
But they're going, you know what? I don't have $20 million in the bank anymore. I'm down to $9 million. Yeah, I'll take that $5 million for some shit movie. I mean,
sure.
and for them, it's 6 months. They go hang out with the crew and act, and then go and don't have to do anything for another year and a half. You know, it's a great gig if you can get it, and even doing a bad movie would still be fun, I think.
Yeah, well, we're just getting started. It is Jeff Dubay podcast for a Monday. Another 3-day week for us. We're on the verge of stretching this thing out to 5. Who knows? Maybe 6 days. God, I don't know.
Don't say that.
I know.
I know. I did that in radio. It's too much.
Well,
too
yeah,
much.
I know that drill as well. But anyway, we got some stuff to get into. We're going to talk a little Adrian Peterson. Before we're done, maybe get into a little bit of this whole Kevin Garnett thing, because we haven't talked about it, because it happened when we were off over the long weekend.
We're coming.
Yeah, I know you're excited. You got tickets for Tuesday. It's going to be old school.
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Whatever. Oh, that's right, Wednesday. Yeah, you got tickets for Wednesday. It's going to be old school. It's going to be the return. And people are talking about Minnesota needed just a shot of positivity, bringing back one of its heroes, one of the sports figures who didn't necessarily let us down, but. I tell you what, I'm still having a big problem with Adrian Peterson wearing the black hat. I mean, I still think people are way out of line in their treatment of this guy, and we'll talk more about that next.
I do want to do due diligence to the NCHC Frozen Face-Off, not just because they are a client of ours, but it is a fantastic event. And it is going to be at the Target Center. It's March 20th to 21st, and they've got some fantastic deals right now. Full session ticket packages for all 4 games start as low as $60, and they will have single game tickets going on sale February 23rd. You can call 1-888-9-AXSTIX, AXSTIX, or go to TargetCenter.com. Go to the Target Center box office. It's going to be a great event. They've also got this fan fest going on. They're going to have live bands. They're going to shut down part of First Ave there, and have bands on the street. We're going to be podcasting live as part of the event. And if you are coming from out of town, which, obviously, the University of Minnesota is no longer in it, so most of the fans who come here are going to be traveling, whether it's from Grand Forks, St. Cloud, Duluth, Miami, of Ohio, Denver University, whatever, you're going to want a hotel room. And obviously, there's a wealth of hotel rooms in downtown Minneapolis. As great as a venue as the X was for these events, downtown Minneapolis has got so much more going on, so many more hotel rooms. And if you go to my Twitter account or my Facebook account, you will find a post or a tweet that shows the NCHC Frozen Face-Off coming March 20th, 21st, and where you can go to book discounted hotel rooms, because the NCHC got together with the Chamber of Commerce and the hotels and put together some packages where folks can get a break on hotel rooms. Just tell them you're coming for the NCHC Frozen Face-Off. But you'll see the link on my Twitter account and my Facebook account. Just click on it, and they'll lead you right to discounted hotels, which should be a fantastic, fantastic event.
Okay, last year, 2013, I lived just down the road, Pleasant Avenue, just a few blocks here from Uptown Pond, which is right on the corner of Lake and Pleasant. And, there are a couple of times, you just try to get to that next payday, maybe a couple of bucks short. If you've got some items, jewelry, diamonds, electronics, I mean, you come down here and they give you a fair price for it, and then you come back a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever, you get it back at a real reasonable price.
So we're very competitive, we hope, on different angles, in different ends and different articles. Computers, electronics, TVs, jewelry. We buy, we give loans, and we also have emphasis on diamond jewelry too, that we also try and give credit for the best we can. We're specialists in that area also, so it's an all-round sort of combination.
Well, it's a great place. It's a nice, clean place with honest people, and I tell you what, it's got a real family feel to it. As a matter of fact, it's tied into Strauss family, and I go way back with the late, great Jerry. So, I mean, these are people I know and people I trust. You can find them on Twitter, too, by the way. They're at Uptown Pond, and also on Facebook, Uptown Pond, and uptownpond.net.
The Rusty Gatenby Review is the entertaining show about entertainment from movies, music, and more. Award-winning TV guy Rusty Gatenby and his review is the podcast with the biggest cast in entertainment, part of the Alive and Social Network. You can get that Minnesota connection to Hollywood and beyond any time of the day or night simply by clicking on the RustyGatenbyReview.com. That's the RustyGatenbyReview.com, part of the Alive and Social Network.
We're back. The Adrian Peterson roller coaster ride continues. I mean, we're not going to go all the way back to week 2 of last year's NFL season and how this all started and how it all broke down. We've all been there. We're all familiar with it. In the last couple of weeks, we've had the Oh, we'd love to have him back. We'll welcome him back with open arms. And that's great. I'd love to come back. Of course, I want to be a Viking. I have some reservations. I'm not feeling great about this or whatever. And then now this is the newest one. Took place at the Combine. Involved Adrian Peterson's agent, Ben Dogra. He and Vikings Vice President of Football Operations, Rob Brzezinski, were in a heated confrontation, reportedly, that took place, in public in front of executives from other NFL teams. So, I mean, your shit's out of house now. I mean, you haven't kept it in.
And they had to be separated. Am I wrong?
That's what it says here. But here's what I'm thinking on this, and it's to me, it's almost a publicity stunt. It's the Peterson camp trying to facilitate a move. I
was going to say, which one of these groups is dumb enough to do this?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like they have to know what they're doing. Holy crap! Long time no see. Jesus Christ! Blast from the past.
The Hubbard people just keep walking through the door. I didn't say anybody's name. Hey, so what happens here is Peterson's got no leverage. All right, I mean the Vikings have him under contract, and if they are to release him, which they might, I put them on. I unplug that lamp there, genius. Well, you're going to plug my phone charger because my phone's over here now. But it is so he's got no leverage, Peterson. And if he is to be released, and then become a free agent, if he does not get beyond, if he doesn't get this appeal one, he doesn't become a free agent until April 15th. The free agency will already be a month old. And don't get me wrong. I mean, if people know he's going to, if NFL franchises know he's going to become a free agent, they're going to put aside what they want to go after him in terms of having the cap space and whatever. But nonetheless. It leaves him in a fairly powerless position. If he is suspended for that long, and then the Vikings do choose to release him. So what they do here, when I say they, the Peterson camp, what Dogra does here is he picks a very public setting in front of executives from other NFL teams, media. He's at the Combine. He knows it's going to get seen. It's going to get covered. And he blows up, and he creates the situation, that creates a scenario where now the rest of the league is well aware of the point they're trying to make, and that is that Peterson is more than willing, if not looking, to play elsewhere.
And do you think that anybody else wants him?
Yes.
Does everyone want him? Does anyone else care about the PR part of this that apparently we're so worried about?
No, because he didn't. I don't want to say. I mean,
were you going to say he didn't do anything?
No, I was going to say he didn't kill anybody. But I mean that.
No.
But I mean,
neither did Ray Rice. But I don't think he's getting too many job offers.
I mean. Well, but that was I think a more just animalistic act, just hurtfully, just with malice, just punching a woman in the face. And
I did think it was funny. Well, not funny.
It's beyond malicious.
But there was some irony to him saying that the Vikings kicked him while he was down. It's like, dude, you literally held a kid down and beat the shit out of him. Like, I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for you.
I'm in the vast minority on this. I think he's right. I mean, I think if you're Adrian Peterson, I mean, you fucked up here, and he's not great at showing remorse. There's no doubt about that. But he made a mistake. But people again have painted him to be this awful person. Now, if I'm Adrian Peterson and I'm in this market for 7 or 8 years, and I give this franchise what I give it on the field. I give these fans, what I've given them. I come back from this injury. I go for 2,000 yards. I mean, I'm the face of a franchise. I mean, I do a lot to build this franchise and to thrill the fans, and then I also take care of all kinds of charitable things off the field. I've been a pillar in the community, and I mean he fucked up. He went. I mean we know what he did. We all know what he did. There's no denying what he did. He doesn't deny what he did. But after 8 years of building up goodwill, he's the fucking devil. I mean get this asshole out of here. And the second he's a little hurt that nobody could stand up and say, hey, he really fucked up here, but he's not the devil you're trying to make him out to be. Which, I've been one of the few who are trying to get that point across. If I was like I'm not Adrian Peterson. This is not a direct comparison, but when I fucked up in 2008, I had people on social media or whatever or on call shows calling me an idiot, an asshole, and a crackhead, which was deserved. But I also had a ton of people who were like, dude, I mean, I've listened to this guy for 10 years. I love him. I hope he's okay.
Right.
But I never saw any of that for Adrian Peterson. He got none of that. He got nothing but killed.
But PR-wise, he's handled this poorly the entire way.
He has.
You smoke weed and go, is that bad? Was I not supposed to smoke weed on probation? You handled that wrong. Yeah. And then this situation right now where what he should be doing is going, I love being a Viking, can't wait to be a Viking, going to be here forever as long as they'll have me.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, you're trying to work out a trade with Dallas.
Well,
but you have to keep this in the front of every one of us, that where it looks like I love being a Viking, because then you're just the good teammate, you're the good guy, and everywhere you go, you're looked at that way.
Well,
now, when he gets to Dallas, he's still looked at as an asshole by a lot of people.
Well, I don't know, because they all whoop their kids in Dallas. I mean,
of all places, that's the place for him to go. You're right about that.
I mean, Texas. Have you ever looked at house listings? They all have a whooping room. Every single one. Well, but
they got a switch hanging on the walls.
Spacious whooping room. But the thing with Peterson, I mean, I'm talking about how people just wanted to get a form of lynch mob. But he has made it perfectly clear he has no problem with the Vikings fan base. His problem is with the Vikings. Now, and here's where he does have a gripe. I mean, we've talked about this. The new tougher rules, the Goodell, the new tougher. If you have a single domestic related type of assault or situation, the first offense, we're going to give you 6 games. Without even thinking about it, you got 6. Well, he got 15. I mean, I know he got paid for 8 of them, but nonetheless, the man missed a season, and the Vikings were without a doubt firmly in Goodell's pocket this whole time. I mean, they were on his side. The Vikings, as an employer, did not have Peterson's back in any way. They were absolutely.
Are you hearing that?
On the
Are you
side
hearing that echo?
Yeah, we're echoing. Is that okay?
Got a little echo going there, man.
We're just doing a show here. Don't worry.
Don't mind us.
Don't worry about us. We're just trying to pay bills. But the organization wanted him suspended. The organization didn't fight. Not only not fight for him, they threw him under the bus, and they were just cozying up to the commission.
No, I think he's been mistreated here especially by Goodell, but definitely by the Vikings as well. But you didn't do your side of it. He's acted like the petulant child the whole time,
right.
And he's acted like he's been wronged. Yeah. And again, he was. But again, in the day and age of every athlete knows exactly how to do everything PR wise, how is he not being guided better? And that's not even on him. That's on his publicist. That's on all of his people that have dropped the ball here. Unless
again they're trying to. Subtly make the situation here untenable enough to the point where they force the Vikings' hand on something. And what Dogra did, I think, is transparent. I think it's really he went down there and he did. This was. I'm not going to say this thing was professional wrestling orchestrated, but I mean he went down there to pick a fight. He went down there to pick a fight, and he picked a time and a place where it would get the most attention, where it would be seen and heard by people from other organizations and by the media, and where he would make it perfectly clear. And he did. There's a quote here, or it's a quote. It's a second-hand quote, but where someone close to the situation said that Dogra said that Adrian Peterson will never play for the Vikings again. So, I mean, this was their opportunity to create a leverage. It was their opportunity to show everybody that we're going to be a pain in the ass to the Vikings on this, and if you want us, we are going to become available at some point. I mean, it's their attempt to get to that point, or at least to have that as an option. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're done here for sure. It's starting to look that way. It's more that's starting to look that way. But it's just what it's done is it's given them an option, or it's an attempt to give them an option. And
I don't know if I'm missing it in the little technical shuffle that we had here or not, but I don't understand what's good about this for Adrian Peterson that they did to make this a public spectacle. Where's the leverage, or you're saying because he doesn't have leverage, this was the way to get it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm not okay.
because I mean it's like What's the only thing worse than having to trade a player? It's when everybody knows you have to trade him.
Yeah,
I mean that puts a team in a bad spot, and they did this in front of people for a reason.
Okay, so they're doing it because they want everyone to know he's out of there.
Yeah, they want to make it. They want, or at least I think it's overstating it to say that they're trying to make it clear to the league that they want out. I think they are trying to make it clear that getting out is an option, and that that's an option that they're very serious about. That gives them some form of leverage.
As a Vikings fan, purely, how much do you care? I mean,
I really wanted.
It's not a running league. I do think he obviously brings a dimension to the team.
Yeah.
But again, God, I mean, when you look at New England, you see how replaceable every fucking player on a roster is besides quarterback.
But the game has changed. The game has changed. You got to run. You got to throw the ball to set up the run, not run the ball. But you used to look for 2 elements. Can we run the ball? Can we stop the run? If we can do that, we got a chance. That's not like that anymore. And I mean, if Adrian Peterson, would have been a player in the '80s or up until the mid '90s, maybe, or the late '90s, he's a dream.
Absolutely.
That's what you wanted then.
But I mean, you look at Dallas. You had DeMarco Murray, the best in the league this year,
Yeah.
and how far did they get with that? I
Well-
mean, and they got to the playoffs. I mean, they did well, but it wasn't enough to get you over that hump. And Marshawn Lynch wasn't either.
Well, I mean, he has been though. I mean,
Sure, but I'm just saying again, he didn't quite get in there.
Well-
Damn near, about literally as
Well,
close as you can.
I look at Peterson's run here. I mean, to come back from the injury the way he did. I mean, let's look at the greatest year that we've seen from him. I mean, he comes back early from injury, goes for 2,000 yards, and what happens? They eke into a wild card on the last game of the season to go out in the first round.
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt, there's no denying that kind of a dominant running game with a franchise running back is not as important as it once was in the National Football League. It doesn't do for you what it once did. Having an elite quarterback that can carve up teams and throw it 50 times a game if he has to, like a Brady or a Breeze, or a Rodgers, that is what will define your team and your offensive success. It's no longer do we have a guy who can carry the mail 30 times a game and grind it out for us. That's not the recipe for success in the NFL anymore, and you got to be careful how much you pay a guy like that.
Using the play action though is huge, and when you have a guy like that in
side.
the backfield, that is the difference, and that is what makes a quarterback have a lot of success
Well,
too.
that's the thing. I wanted Bridgewater I want to see Bridgewater play with all these guys in the box. I want to see 7-8 guys in the box for Bridgewater one time. I mean, he was under horrific pressure and just people in his face all year long. And you could slow that down if you could run the ball a little bit.
When you
and
get those,
but they actually did run the ball better. I mean, they were a top 10 rushing offense.
they did run the ball just fine without him.
Yeah, they did pretty good.
But I would like to see too with the 8 guys in the box the escapability of Bridgewater too. I mean, now you got all those guys down low. If he gets to the outside, that's a threat too.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that Bridgewater, it's not necessarily just about it's definitely absolutely positively not just about what Peterson could do if he's in the lineup. It's about what other teams have to do to prepare for him and how their approach has to change. And I mean, I think as great or as very good as Bridgewater's rookie season was, I'm disappointed we didn't get to see him play with these 8 men in a box. I mean, it would have been he really has the opportunity, and he's a thinking man's quarterback. I mean, he's one of these guys who looks at the defense at the line of scrimmage and knows how to attack it. And I mean, he's got a lot to learn NFL wise yet, but I mean, he is a student of the game, and I think that you get him at the line of scrimmage with all those guys in the box. He's the kind of guy who can find something and pick something. I mean, I'm not saying you lock in on a guy before the snap, but you know where you'd like to go. I mean, the great ones. I mean, they know where the weakness is going to be, and they know how to attack the defense. It's the best way to attack a defense. And I would like to see at least 1 year of it. I'd love to see Peterson here with this offense with Bridgewater, next year. But
there's a huge case to be made for why to have him next year too, and that is because he just had a season off. I mean, you don't get. We've talked about this a couple of times before when we talked about him, but you just don't get guys at that age who just got a year off and fully paid too. So like he's still happy too. Like I don't know, and I know he's not really happy, but I think that you're going to see a guy who would have been starting that decline, like that real decline in the next couple of years, and he could. I mean, this could prolong his career a couple of extra seasons.
Well, and you know what the real underrated element of him coming back would be the ability to see how quickly the bandwagon people are back in his camp. I mean, he'd go for 150 week 1 and a couple of touchdowns, and we love Adrian Peterson. I mean, we were throwing Adrian Peterson parades. I mean, I'm sending him my underwear in the mail. I mean, it would take no time at all. And everybody would be like, I had his back the whole time.
Absolutely.
I mean,
this is a town that hated Favre for 15 years and then accepted him with open arms. And, I mean, that's a little different than a guy that was accused of beating his kid. But, I mean, it's hard to hate somebody more in a green and gold than in a green and gold jersey.
Yeah,
so, it would be comparable.
I mean, again, just people are so quick to try to judge a man, judge the man and judge his character when you're not qualified to do so. You can judge actions all you want. I mean, you can see something that you disapprove of, and you've got the right. You can say, hey, I think what this person did is something I don't agree with, and I'm not going to be on board with that. But people they want to judge the man. I mean, when somebody makes a mistake, people they want to be on Twitter saying this is a bad guy. I mean, I'm telling you right now, this is a bad human being. This is a bad person. He's well, that's bullshit. I mean, he did a bad thing. I mean, people have got to learn to judge an action and not the person, not the man. I mean, it's just you can't define a person based on a single mistake. And I'm not saying that that's the only mistake in his entire life. But I mean, he doesn't have a pattern of being a bad human being. He's actually got a pattern of being a pretty good one. And people just they want to just rush to the side of we're gonna. I hate Adrian Peterson, so I love kids. I'm for kids because I'm against Adrian Peterson. It's just so stupid and myopic. And
if he played for a team south of the Mason-Dixon line, is this a completely different story?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Because I mean, let's say he's in Atlanta. I don't think they kick him off the team. I don't think they try to get onto this commissioner's list. I think it's treated completely differently. Yeah. But up here with the Midwestern mentality and all those sponsors, that changed the entire outlook on it. So and that's why. And I think actually that's what Adrian's so pissed off about, is that the Vikings could have had his back and could have said, no, we're going to suspend him for the whatever it was, and that's it. And they went into cahoots with
people got all over him last week for the quote, a little uneasy about coming back. I mean, he didn't say that he hates it here. He didn't say he doesn't want to come back here. He didn't say he wouldn't come back here. He just said, I love the fans. I like to be there. But, I mean, based on a couple of things that have happened, it'd be a little uneasy. I can't blame him because nobody had his back for an inch. I mean, nobody. I mean, everybody in this state hung him out to dry. And, again, I'm not saying that he didn't deserve heat. I'm not saying he didn't deserve punishment. I'm not saying he didn't deserve justice to be served against him. And those things all were. But that does not condemn him as a man or as a human being or for God forbid, as a National Football League player. I mean, just the mistakes people make in these rushes to judgment to put an entire man's character into one incident, one mistake that was based on ignorance more than violence, in my opinion. I mean, I really do believe that. But so I don't blame him for being like, boy. I mean, this whole community and this organization, he had to feel like just a hated man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a man
he was ostracized.
A man without a nation. A man without just somebody out on an island. And he didn't deserve to be ostracized as you just said, to that extent. It was just way too much.
The reason you're not going to hear this will never change and it's not going to go back the other way is it's just so hard to defend him. When what he did is so. I mean, I know what you're saying. I completely agree too. That it's more of like a way you raise your family thing than it was, a barbaric thing.
Yeah.
But it's just so. It's so easy to go, screw him. Like he's just a terrible guy because he did that once. It's so easy to do that, and it's a lot harder to go. You know what though? There's more to this story because it's so easy to just go, hey, beat a kid. That's awful.
Even if you don't think there's more to the story, just admit that there might be more to the man. I mean, this might be. You know what? You can condemn this action and say this is barbaric and horrible, and what he did is awful, no matter what the circumstances. And I think this is as bad as it gets. But that you have to stop and realize there's more to the man than that one incident. I mean, you don't have to find a bright side or a positive side to that fucking horrible incident.
You say that about Ray Rice?
You have to realize that he's got some redeeming qualities. See, I don't know enough about Ray Rice. If Ray Rice had been this pillar of this community and stuff, he would be harder for me to defend because I do believe his act was malicious and violent.
Yes, it was very different, as we talked about. Yeah. But I just wonder if you say, wait, maybe there's more to this guy. To me, I almost don't give a shit.
yeah. I mean, that is a tough one. You might kind of put me in a box in the argument.
I'm not even trying to box you.
There are some. And I guess this will kind of contradict myself a little bit, but I guess there are some incidents that are always going to overshadow a person's life. I mean, a guy could have a pretty good run, and then do something really god awful, and people are not going to just turn the other cheek.
Well, and I've always been as disgusting as I think this is, and if Adrian Peterson leaves, I'm fine with that. But I've said his suspension was way overblown. It should have been the 2 games. It should have been what it was before the new standards were put into place. He was mistreated. Again, it's just then don't hit kids, and so that it's so easy for just that to be the comeback. Oh well, don't hit kids. So that's what makes it hard to really stick up for him, and that's why he's going to leave. He's going to leave.
When you look at the victim of a crime like this, when it is someone is innocent, defenseless as a child, people they do look at it very myopically. They think, well, if I'm going to try to see that Adrian Peterson isn't a god awful person, or that there might be something that maybe he is being overly punished, maybe he is being made a ridiculous example of. That sounds like people take that as you're coming out against kids, or you're coming out in favor of violence against kids. That's just, come on, just grow up. Every crime has a punishment that is fitting, and quite often a punishment will be too lacking, and quite often, and not just in the NFL, I'm talking about in life. I mean, but sometimes a punishment will be too lacking, sometimes it'll be too excessive, and just because you look at a situation and say that's way too much, that this person does not deserve, to be nailed to the wall to this extent. That doesn't mean you're advocating his action, and it doesn't mean you're neglecting his victim.
But because he's in such a precarious situation, because of the fact that it is like, when did you stop beating your wife? It is one of those things where it's just he's always going to be looked at as this. That's why I who the hell is giving him advice? Like, how is this the way you're handling it in the press?
Yeah.
You should be model citizen right now, and you're acting like a little punk.
Well, I mean, there's
or at least your agent is.
There's no PR machine at work here in terms of well, it depends again what his goal is. I mean, if his goal was to endear himself, again, and cuddle up again to the Minnesota sports fan and his current franchise, then this would be ridiculous. But if his goal is to attempt to build himself some leverage and give himself some power and force the Vikings' hand to do something, then then they've played it like a fiddle. So it depends on how you look at it. But we'll take our final break and come back.
Hi, I'm Terry Daniel, and I've been a voice actor in Minneapolis for over 2 decades now. How often are you getting compliments on your voice? Now is the time to do something about it. If you're interested in getting into voiceovers, please contact me via my website at universalvoicetalent.com.
Conference, the NCHC, even the Frozen Face-Off. It's coming to the Target Center. It's March 20th and 21st, and it's just a fantastic event because it does feature, as much as it pains me to say it, it features college hockey's best conference. I mean, it is what it is. For years and years, I got to tout, the league that the Gophers were playing in as the league's best conference because it was. The WCHA was a beast. Whether you take the best from the WCHA and throw it in with some of the best from the CCHA and make this new NCHC, you've got a whole another animal. I mean, it is the deepest, most powerful conference in college hockey, and you saw that a year ago because there were so many upsets. I mean, it just showed how good the league was. You had some teams like St. Cloud Duluth didn't get down here because it was just so powerful. Now you got North Dakota, on top of the polls. You've got Duluth has been the top 10 team most of the season. Miami of Ohio. I mean, you got a lot of powerful squads coming in. It's going to be a hell of a tournament. You can get ticket packages for the entire sessions, both sessions, all 4 games, starting as low as $60. So you got Target Center ticket office. Go to targetcenter.com. So there's just all kinds of ways for you to get in on this. And I'm going to be reposting every week links to not only get tickets, but links to get good value on hotel rooms in the downtown Minneapolis area, good quality hotel rooms that have been set aside for folks who are coming to visit. So I'm going to put that again on my Twitter and on my Facebook. So on a weekly basis, hit up my accounts and you'll see the post and you can just click right on it and get your hotel reservation. Just do not miss the NCHC Frozen Face-Off coming up March 20th, 21st downtown. And we'll be there for a little podcast action.
Hi, everybody. This is Alyssa.
And this is Liz.
And we're with The Focus Radio,
where our focus is to bring you resources to grow your business and double your income.
Join us on Mondays from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Time. TheFocusRadio.com.
Folks who've listened to the show, they know that I lived in the Uptown area here, right down Pleasant Avenue, as a matter of fact, and on the corner of Pleasant Lake is where Uptown Pond is. And I have been here numerous times, had numerous business dealings with them. It's just a nice place with good, honest people. Bob Jacobson, the owner, you run the place. You've always been good to me.
Thanks, Jeff. We try. That's part of our business. We're here to help people, and so everybody walks in the door. We hope we can help.
Well, what I've always appreciated is when people are nice to people who are the low man on the totem pole. Like when I was a bat boy, I like the star guys who are nice to the bat boy.
Right.
And I mean, I came in here and you guys didn't know who I was. You didn't know I had a radio show, and you treated me great. I mean, just a guy off the street.
Listen, that's the idea with I think a smaller family type business. Somebody walks in the door, we don't want to let them see everybody gets treated the same way, and we hope that's the case. And we don't want to see them leave without. We try our very best.
It's really easy. It's easy. It's low pressure. Good, honest people. Right on the corner of Lake Street and Pleasant Avenue. You guys got to check out Uptown Pond.
A problem to which there may not be any solution. High school hockey playoffs. And I mean, this is a great couple of weeks, around the state with all the sectional playoffs going on. I mean, we all know it can be tough to get a ticket to the state tournament unless you're willing to, pay a little premium on the street or whatever. I mean, I mean, I've been to a handful, but I mean, I'm typically in front of the TV for it. But this is the week where, you get out to Mariucci, or you get out, well, God, this is the first year of no Coliseum. I kind of missed the Coliseum, old school. But no hockey at the fairgrounds. But I mean, you know the sites. I mean, up north, they're probably playing regional finals at the deck and at the National Hockey Center, and down in Rochester, whatever. But it's when everybody gets out and gets a chance to see it. I mean, back when I was in high school, it was the Met Center, and I mean, those were fantastic nights. The double headers, Section 5, Section 6. I was a Hopkins guy. We were always getting beat by Minnetonka, or he died. I think they'll fuck themselves. But, Richfield one year, Damian Rhodes took us down. Damian Rhodes, a goaltender for the Richfield Spartans, took my squad out.
Richfield, that is embarrassing.
Well, no, they had a crazy good run because Damian Rhodes got hot out of nowhere. And he went to Michigan Tech and then the NHL and had a hell of a career.
Oh, that'll do it.
But I mean, I'd never heard of him. I mean, but we're going into a regional semifinal at the Met Center. And I never even heard of the guy because I remember when they were doing starting lineups and he was introduced as the starting goaltender Damian Rhodes. I leaned over to my buddy and said, "I hope that's not a bad omen." The Omen, Damian. But
yes.
I know it's a movie reference from before you were born, but
old.
But nonetheless, I mean, that's I didn't. The point is, I didn't know the guy. I'd never heard of him. I mean, until they announced him, and a year later, he's D1, WCHA goaltender, and 3 years later, he's in the National Hockey League, and for like 10 years, I mean, he stuck. But anyway,
who do you play for in the National Hockey League?
He was going to. You suck. You suck for just asking me that.
Sorry, I'm trying to think of.
It was a Canadian team, I believe, for most of his career. But I don't have time to look it up because I'll get too distracted.
Yep.
But talk about the high school hockey playoffs. We saw twice in the last week. Big brawls at the end of the game. Upon the conclusion of the game, one was Jefferson and Holy Angels, which resulted in no suspensions. The other was Eden Prairie and Benilde in a game that did involve suspensions, and it was a regional semifinal. So now Eden Prairie goes on to play in their sectional final, missing 3 or 4 key players. Now here's the tough thing about this. When you're in a playoff format, a single elimination playoff format, if a team loses, I mean, these brawls took place, I believe, both upon the conclusion of the game, so that both teams knew they were done. What do you got to lose? I mean,
that's true. That's dangerous.
I mean, you got guys who are they're some of them seniors who didn't have to play another high school
last
game.
Hockey game of their lives.
They got
possibly,
nothing to lose, and you got guys on the other team that have got to go play in a regional final. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you give teams a free ticket. Say, well, I feel your pain here. Go ahead and pound on them, Eden Prairie. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying as I did to start the segment, this might be a problem without a solution because these teams that lose are given opportunity to flail with impunity. And I don't know what kind of penalties that the high school league could put in place, to penalize a team in future years. That would be enough of motivation for a pissed off high school senior to step back.
That's a kid.
Yeah,
he's not thinking about the coach. He's not thinking about any of the younger players.
And let's not forget one other element to these two games, especially Jefferson and Holy Angels. And I don't know how if it's been as bad in recent years as it was when Holy Angels was winning state titles, but Jefferson, is it's a hockey system. They are starting with kids from every level and bringing them up and grooming them until you get. It's. I mean, they groom and they put money into the program and they develop players. And then Holy Angels is a private school that waits till they get good, and then they have them come. They snatch them. And then when Holy Angels started funneling guys with, Greg Treble went over there and started coaching, and he's a great guy. People love him to death. He was a Jefferson assistant for years. So I mean, he went over there and he was tight with a lot of the Jefferson kids. It was Dan Treble's dad. Dan Treble was a Jefferson defenseman, played for the Gophers. And anyway, long story short, there becomes a lot of just bitterness between those programs. I mean, it's kind of like how people in East Side hate Hill Murray because it's like that kid has been in our system since he's 5 years old, and we've developed him, and then he gets to high school and where are the rewards? And I believe that there might be an element of that with Benilde Eden Prairie. I mean, Benilde has drawn kids away from Hopkins High School and St. Louis Park, and I mean, you've got kids playing against kids that they have been teammates with the whole way up. And then maybe feel a little deserted by, and maybe there's some trash talking back and forth.
I was gonna say I wondered how much that actually trickled down to the kids themselves. But you're right. If they grow up playing with the kid throughout the system, and then they get to high school level, and all of a sudden the kid's on the other team.
Yeah, and then you go to a sectional semi or sectional playoff game, and you have a 1-goal game or an overtime game. I mean, there's going to be the potential for some boiling over, even if you don't have schools like that have that Jefferson Holy Angels relationship. I mean, Jefferson and Holy Angels fight over guys. I mean, they feed. Holy Angels for years has fed off the Jefferson system, and we all remember, well, at least most of us do, back in the 90s, the most dominant dynasty that the state has ever seen in high school hockey. Just Jefferson was just churning them out. I mean, early to mid 90s, Satterdahl's teams were untouchable, unbeatable. I mean, just Mr. Hockey after Mr. Hockey. Guys went to going to Division I, playing for the Gophers, going on to the NHL. I mean, it just Ben Clymer, Mike Crowley, Treble, Checo. I mean, it goes forever. I mean, it was without a doubt at least in my lifetime, the greatest high school hockey dynasty that the state has seen. I mean, I can't go back to the Eveleth years or what's the Lake of the Woods. I mean, all right. I mean, I'm not going to try to compare them. I didn't see those teams, obviously. But Jefferson, I mean, as good as it gets. And all of a sudden, Jefferson becomes, slightly better than average program, and Holy Angels is in the state tournament. And they're winning, with guys that would have been playing in the Bloomington system or did play in the Bloomington system. I believe Bearball would have been an example of that, but I'm not sure where he.
Forgive my ignorance. What class does Holy Angels play in?
Big.
They do play. Have they always?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
For some reason, I'm thinking maybe they were in the smaller conference for a while, which would make it even worse.
But I mean, that is the program that took down the dynasty. I mean, they fed so heavily off the Jefferson kids, and I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong about that. I mean, kids have a right to go where they want, especially. I mean, I'm not sure what the state of open enrollment is right now, but I mean, that's a private school, so it's a completely different ballgame. If a kid wants to go to a Catholic school, private school, go whatever. I mean, they have the right to do it, and I'm as long as rules are not. You're not getting around rules and just doing things purely for the athletics of it. I mean, you got to go there for the right reasons, but you got the right to pick your school. And I'm not sitting here saying that Holy Angels was some villain, back in the day, to starting to funnel guys off Jefferson. But
I think you're talking about the perception of it, though, and that's real.
Well, yeah, I mean, that does lead to bad blood. There's no doubt that leads to some spillover. But that still, to me, isn't the issue at hand here. The issue at hand here is a team has been eliminated. And you've got kids who are, even if they're not seniors, I mean, their season just ended. They're emotional. They're pissed. They don't have another game that they have to worry about. And the seniors don't have any more games ever to worry about. So you got one team with nothing to lose and another team that is going to go on and play another game. And all of a sudden, things get heated. And I really don't know what the solution to this is.
I'm surprised we haven't heard of more problems. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't heard of some more vicious fights at the end of these games.
And it has been, thankfully, something that hasn't been a big issue, but now when it happens twice in a week, in the same year of playoffs, with teams that kind of have similar rivalries with one another, somewhat similar, at least a few similarities, you start to see maybe a little bit of a pattern. And I don't envy the folks at the Minnesota State High School League for having to figure this one out. I'm not sure I don't know how you fix it.
No, I think that sounds like an absolute nightmare for coaches, for parents, for everyone involved. I mean, I can't think of. I mean, I know what I was like when I was 17 and a senior, and I'd be swinging sticks. I mean, if I was pissed, I mean, if anything happened during the game, or a guy threw a knee at me or something, I'm going after him. I mean, I would be an immature little punk, and most of those guys probably are.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't have a horse in this race. I don't care who wins Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, Section 5. You got the 1 seed and the 2 seed. Either one's going to go to the state tournament and be a worthy representative of. I assume it's still Section 6. That's what it was when I was growing up. Whatever, 5, 6, whatever the hell it is. So I mean, I've got no horse in this race. I don't care how it turns out. And I mean, just like most people, I get a little sick of Eden Prairie winning everything because they are way too big of a high school. I mean, they basically are almost. If they add just a little more enrollment, if they get like a 10% bump in enrollment, I'm pretty sure they could go Division I college. I mean, it's really it's way too big of a school. It should have split long ago, and there are reasons it didn't that we could get into in another day, Mike Grant. But but I mean, he just didn't want to lose his football program. He didn't want somebody funneling off his kids. But the bottom line is, I'm not trying to champion. Oh, woe is Eden Prairie. I mean, I think Eden Prairie's got every advantage in the world, and I've seen enough of them. I mean, enough's enough. But this sucks. I mean, this sucks that they lose 3 guys. And really, I mean, what they did is against an opponent is equal to what that opponent did to them. But they're being penalized for it in the next game against a team. It's just the whole thing sucks. I mean, it's a shame it happened. I don't know how you fix it, but it's not a level playing field. You got a team that's got nothing to lose and a team that's got something to lose. It's just a volatile situation.
No, and it sounds like you're gonna have hurt kids, and that's the last thing.
Yep, we got to get out of here. We might go guest free all the way up to Wednesday, just because we have fun when we do it. Not sure what we're going to do tomorrow yet, but, we like to keep them guessing, keep them off balance. But we will be at Bennett's Chop House, West 7th on Wednesday, debuting there with our new sponsor for Wild Wednesday.